at you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. What is going on, party people? Happy Thirsty Thursday to you, wherever you may be. We got a fun show, fun off-day show lined up for you. My buddy, my pal, my hats backwards amigo, Jeff Snider is going to be joining us in just a second, along with Skinner7 Kevin, of course, coming at us live from the kitchen. On today's show, we're talking about the state of the Dodgers. We got the latest on Andy Pages. We got some state of the starting rotation. And mainly, I wanted Jeff here to be the voice of reason for us all, because that is what one of the things I feel like he does best. So without further ado, I say we say F it. Let's go ahead and bring the guys in here. There's the gentleman there. Look at that. Even with lower thirds and the whole thing. Kevin, you're the less important one here, so I'll ask you first how you're doing, and then we'll ask Jeff how he's doing. But what's going on, bud?
Good. I started watching Goodfellas for the first time about an hour ago, so no Dodger baseball. That's what we do.
You paused Goodfellas to come on to here. I don't know how I feel about that, Jeff. What do you think about that?
I've never seen Goodfellas. I took a break from eating some ice cream to do this, so but it's
confirm.
That's not my first time eating ice cream, believe it or not. So but here we are talking Dodgers. I am kind of tired of always having to be the voice of reason. Why don't you guys develop some reason?
It's apparently not the season for reason right now. If you've seen anybody online in the first couple of weeks of this 2025 season, the expectations, I would say the expectations for the team are always through the roof, but right now they're absurd in that they can't do anything wrong. No player is fallible. If you do something, if you go 0 for 1, you should be designated for assignment. But before we dive into that, we should tell people, you see our names on the screen. I am Clint Pasillas. The other guy all the way to the right, that is Kevin Skinner, and the guy in the middle is Jeff Snider. We all have covered the team in some way, shape, or form in our lifetime, stealing from Jeff's Locked On Dodgers intro script there. Of course, Jeff and I have been in clubhouses time and time again, and Skinner7 Kevin, they had to kick out a few times. But consider giving the show a thumbs up if you don't mind. Consider subscribing to the channel if you are not subscribed yet. It really does help out the channel. And also subscribe to Locked On Dodgers. This guy has a 5 times a week show with his buddy Vince Samperio, and it's it's really radio worth watching, YouTube worth listening to. I got nothing for you.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
All right.
Have I told you about the time I had a dream that Oral Hershiser said I had a face made for radio and a voice made for newspaper?
That sounds very bulldoggy.
It was the rudest any bulldog has ever been to me in a dream.
At least you dream right. You dream in bulldog there.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I could taste that, which is just a weird way of talking about another man. But guys, sound off in the comments below. Let us know how you're feeling about this Dodgers team. Matty Man 5 Dodge says ugliest Brady Bunch grid ever. Kidding. We appreciate that one. Noah Ortega with the $1.99 super chat saying, Kevin, put your damn hat on backwards now. We were talking about that before the show. Kevin doesn't believe in putting his hat on the correct way here for the All Dodgers podcast. Dream and Oral, problematic. All right, we're walking away from that one and getting into the voice of reason. Look at that. He has his own title card there. And I'm sorry, Jeff, you do have to be the voice of reason for us all.
You got it, man.
Ugly roadie for your boys in blue, 2 and 4, or very early in the season. It's not all doom and gloom, though, despite what some people might tell us on the All Dodgers Discord and what some people might be telling us on Twitter. Put some things into perspective here with with this team and coming through a cold East Coast roadie there and all that kind of stuff. How are you feeling about this team, and when do you start to sound any sort of fire alarms about things going wrong?
I guess the easiest way to put it in perspective is they're on pace for 116 wins.
That's it?
Which would be
That's
decent.
not even record breaking.
They had a crappy road trip, no doubt about it. But that's how baseball goes. Like it's very rare. I would guess there's never been a team in a full season to not have a 3-game losing streak. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but you know what? Every team. You remember the 2017 Dodgers that were awesome and should have won the World Series? And remember late
September,
late August, early September?
Yep.
When they lost 16 out of 17 and they looked like the worst team in the history of the world, and they still won their division by 10 games and then went to the World Series and got cheated out of it. I don't know if you heard about that in 2017.
Yeah,
it turned out the Astros cheated. But
breaking news.
I think part of the problem sometimes is that we think about baseball like it's one of the other sports. Because in basketball, the better team wins. Like if both teams are healthy, the better team wins 85% of the time. It's why you will have teams win. What's the record? 73 wins or something in a 82 game basketball season. It's just easier for the better team to win in basketball. In football, you got the same quarterback every game, the same receiver, same running back. So if you're the best team in the league, yeah, you're probably going to win 13 or 14 of your 17 games. Mm-hmm. In baseball, it's like the better team has like a 55% chance of winning because baseball is much more a game of failure. Even the best hitters get out the vast majority of the time. And if sometimes even when you get 10 hits, if you have them spread out the wrong way, you only score 3 runs and you gave up 4. It's just so easy to lose a baseball game and so hard to win a baseball game that the fact that even for all of this, the anomaly was the Dodgers starting 8-0 or whatever they were, not having a 3-game losing streak.
I think that's fair. Kevin, anything you want to add before we kind of shift a little bit?
I don't know. World's falling. Life's over as we know it.
Pets' heads are falling off. They went 2-4. I talked to Dodger legend Eric Karros today or Karras if you're nasty, on the Dodgers territory, and that was kind of one of I like one of the points that he brought up where it's been such an up and down. Like the season hasn't really started. It feels like with the start of this homestand, it's the real start of the season because you got Tokyo, you got ring ceremony, you've got bobblehead nights, you've got the White House mixed in there, much to the chagrin of a lot of people. Now the season really gets going. There's no more pomp and circumstance. It's just play baseball for the next 5 months, and hopefully from there they can string together some hits in the right order. I would like to see the bottom of the lineup get a little bit more going than just the top-heavy action that we've seen from this lineup. With that in mind, I'd say there's still some issues I feel are worth questioning. There are some players early in the season underperforming, and Jeff, sometimes that happens on week 1, sometimes that happens in month 4. And you have time to actually build up some counting stats before you walk up to the plate and you see these numbers looking like absolute ass on the board. But some guys, right now, Andy Pages, Max Muncy, these are probably 2 of the bigger names. If you guys miss it as well, our Kevin dropped a video today on the All Dodgers YouTube channel talking about Max Muncy and maybe some things that can kind of help alleviate the third base situation for the Dodgers. Maybe Max Muncy shouldn't be the everyday third baseman, but we'll figure that one out as we get that far. But beyond that, bench as well. Miguel Rojas not doing much. Austin Barnes, as usual, not doing a whole lot. Chris Taylor not getting a whole lot of opportunities. Kike Hernandez filling in for Freddie Freeman. Not great with the bat as well. What are we, about 15 games into the season? Jeff, would you say that I'll blanket statement this way, that Dodger Nation has been a bit more overreactionary than we've seen in years past?
I don't know if it's been more or not. I mean, this feels pretty familiar to me. Like, it's kind of funny. I talked to, Locked On has shows for every team. And so I talk with a lot of the other hosts of other teams. And it seems to me like most years, Dodger fans are a little bit more on edge than other fans. And I think it's because of the expectations they've set up. I think back in, 2013, 2014, when this run was just starting, yeah, it was fun. And it was like, this is awesome. We went to the NLCS, sweet, and even when you got beat by the Astros in 2017, before we knew the Astros had cheated, not sure if you heard about that, but I remember I was super bummed that the Dodgers lost, but I'm like, okay, but I really believe what Tommy Lasorda said, that the best thing you could do is win the World Series. And the second best thing you could do is lose the World Series. I mean, this is awesome, and we'll be back. And then they were back the next year, and it hurt a little bit more losing that one. And then 2019 is when the real pain started, like losing to a better team in the division series, to a worse team, sorry. And then 2020, they win the World Series. Like, okay, everything's going to be great for the rest of forever. and then then 21 through 23 weren't exactly great forever and ever. And I think that's kind of, I think it was that national series in 2019 that really kind of pushed some people really close to the edge, because like we've lost the World Series twice in a row, and now we can't even get out of the division series against a lousy national team, and then they go on and win the World Series. So like you're obviously the Dodgers would have won the World Series if they had just won that Game 5 against the Nats and all of that. And it's just, I don't know, like I feel like, I don't know if it's spoiled, and not in a bad way. And I don't mean any of this as critical of Dodger fans. It's just the state of our franchise right now, that we have very high expectations for our team. And so when they have a 3-game losing streak against a bad Nationals team, 2 of the games against the Nats, it's like, yeah, this sucks. And so I do think it is easier to find things to be happy about when you don't have very high expectations. Just ask my wife, it's so much easier to be satisfied when your goal is to win 84 games.
Yeah, that's fair.
And when your goal is to win 110 games and then 11 games in October, it's very easy to get frustrated. And I think we see that with a lot of fans.
I'm seeing Dan in the comments here saying casual fans always overreact to every inning, let alone game or road trip. And I mean, that's fair. I'm trying my best.
That's casual.
What?
That's Locked On Dodgers every day, or Dan, to you.
My apologies.
Call me casual.
Yeah. Kevin is definitely one of those guys. I noticed that in the postseason where he had a hard time watching a lot of the games. The second there was one thing that went slightly awry, is like, all right, I'm done. I'm done with this game.
I'll tell you, my brother is absolutely what I'm talking about. Game 5 of the World Series. So he lives about a mile from my parents' house. My parents' house Spectrum, he doesn't. So he watches the games at their house. He left after Stanton's home run in Game 5 of the World Series. He went home, and he just checked every 10 minutes or so, checked on the score. Once the Dodgers tied it up, my brother didn't see that 5th inning until the World Series was over, because he wasn't there, because he had given up. He had gone home. He's like, he was grumpy on the way out. I'll see you guys on Thursday or whatever, and then he came back once the Dodgers had come back, and even I think he didn't come back till they were actually, the Yankees had taken the lead and the Dodgers took the lead back. So he didn't even get to see the good stuff until later, because he had given up. And it's like, just man up and watch your favorite team play baseball,
I listened to Freddie's home run on the radio. I couldn't watch it. I listened to, I think Steven Nelson called it.
Yeah.
It was a great call. Steven's voice crack as Freddie's rounding third.
Yeah.
Oh man, so good. Like there were some great calls. Have you like Joe Davis's call was obviously iconic. Stevens was great. The Dodgers Spanish broadcast, so good. Even if you don't know Spanish, like it's so good.
Like,
and then the Japanese broadcast. Oh, there's just so many good calls of that home run.
Yeah, Jeff is somebody who I think you put yourself to bed each night, still listening to that walk-off grand slam. You still haven't put it to bed yet?
I watch it several times a day.
I got to go back a little bit here. We got a $4.99 super chat from our buddy Richie Flores. Says, not only has Jeff never eaten at Philippe's, now we learned that he never saw Goodfellas. Turn in your Dodger fan card. I don't know where Goodfellas and being a Dodger fan relate, but you know what? You got to turn in your fan card. It's on the internet.
Hey, tell Richie, buy me some tickets to a Dodger game, and I will go to Philippe's before the game, watch Goodfellas on my phone, and then head to the game.
There it is.
As long as it's dugout club seats.
Ooh.
That's fair. So getting back, I mentioned a few of the names there that we're kind of looking at as underperforming dudes, and I wanted to do this. I feel like there's some sort of middle ground between Hall of Famer and somebody that needs to be DFA'd the second they go 0 for 4. We've seen a few offers from Muncy and Pages. Who are you more concerned about? Like, if we're looking, we're trying to put on our Nostradamus hat and we're looking ahead in the season. Who is a bad season harms the Dodgers more? I'm saying this all wrong, but you get my point. Pages bad season or Muncy bad season? What is worse for this team?
I think Muncy is worse for the team if he continues to struggle like this because of a couple of reasons. A, more is expected from Muncy. Muncy is supposed to be one of your thumpers. Pages, it was, we were hoping he'd hit because he doesn't do much on defense. But Pages, if he doesn't play better, you can eventually replace him with somebody. Yeah. Muncy, there's no obvious replacement, and whoever would replace Muncy wouldn't hit 35 home runs like we're expecting Muncy to do. So, whether it's Muncy that's a downgrade from our Muncy expectations or a replacement who's a downgrade from that, there's the higher expectations for Muncy means that he's more important to the team.
Need to start seeing something out of that dude. Need to start seeing a little bit more out of that dude. He had the little bit of breakout 3-hit game coming off of that, getting rid of the torpedo bat, puts up the double, game-tying double and all that, but still, just ups and downs of a long season, and you can see the frustration when it comes to Max Muncy. He is going to get some help coming up. Of course, this homestand opens with the return of Freddie Freeman. We already see Hunter Fiducia optioned to AAA, opening the door, paving the way for the return of Freddie Freeman, and my God, just in these first couple of weeks where we've only seen Freddie and Mookie in the same lineup twice, it's a dumb question I have for you here, but how much does Freddie Freeman help this lineup?
Lots. Is that a good enough answer?
Back to you in the studio.
You think whoever Freddie's replacing in the lineup, obviously he's replacing Kike defensively, but if Kike shifts over to third for a game, so Freddie's replacing Muncy. If Kike goes to second and Edman goes to center, so it's Freddie replacing Pages. Whoever is out of the lineup because Freddie is back in on any given game, Freddie is a much better hitter than that person. And so you are taking the worst hitter, one of, these 3 or 4 guys who are fighting for the title of worst hitter on the Dodgers right now. One of those guys is going to be on the bench because Freddie Freeman's there instead. Yeah. And imagine at the trade deadline saying, hey, we just traded Andy Pages for Freddie Freeman. You'd be like, sign me up for the World Series right now. I mean, that's whether it's Pages or Kike or Muncy or whoever, Rojas, when he's going to be in the game, Freddie Freeman is an upgrade over everybody.
And I've complained a lot in recent days about the bottom of the lineup, rightfully so. Getting somebody like Freddie back in this lineup, it just helps 1 through 9 so dang much when we're talking about. I mean, there's been a lot of praise, a lot of glaze for one Mr. Tommy Edman, who's done well hitting third for this team. But if you're talking about getting Freddie back in that 3-hole and moving Tommy down, just hear me out on this 1 through 9 here. You got Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, Teo, Tommy, Will Smith, Max Muncy, Michael Conforto, and Andy Pages. Doesn't that just feel a lot better, everybody? Just the room. Does everybody taste that?
Yeah. Can I throw out a crazy idea?
Absolutely. And why not?
I know all the sabermetric reasons why you don't do this, but how about Tommy Edman 9th?
Oh,
so you've got a better hitter, ton of speed, on base in front of Shohei. So the fact that Shohei has 4 homers and 5 RBIs is criminal. And having Tommy Edman on base means more 2-run homers for Shohei, more RBI doubles for Shohei. Even Tommy steal a base, and guess what? Then they intentionally walk Shohei. Guess what? That's what we want them to do because it always backfires for every team that intentionally walks Shohei. Whatever, all the benefits there. The one downside is, if you're talking Edman batting 5th or 6th versus batting 9th, that's 40 fewer plate appearances over the course of a season, that you're giving to somebody. But I mean, if we're talking about, you've still got Pages 8th. If you're giving those at bats, basically they're split. Those 40 at bats that aren't going to Edman are split between Smith and Conforto and Muncy. Theoretically, it's not that much of a downgrade. And I think what you're gaining from having Edman there, starting, second leadoff man, it's what you tell a kid in Little League to make him feel better about batting 9th. But in the major leagues, it's actually a thing where having a good hitter on base in front of or batting before Shohei to give Shohei a better chance of driving in runs. I love that idea.
Kevin, I want your thoughts on it, but first, also, folks in the chat, sound off. What do you think about Tommy Edman batting 9th? Just coming up with this now, I think maybe this voice of reason fella, maybe he's pretty smart at doing some baseball things. Maybe you know a thing or two about baseball, because I really love Tommy Edman batting 9th. I think it makes a lot of sense for this team, and we've seen Gavin Lux have some success for this team and help this team batting 9th. Now imagine a better version. somebody like Tommy Edman. But Kevin, give me your thoughts about Edman ninth.
That's where I was going to go immediately, was the whole when Gavin Lux was a member of the Dodgers and we were all, had higher expectations for him. I was always an advocate of him batting ninth because he provides something to the lineup that the kind of doesn't have. We don't really have like kind of a slappy singles guy, get on base, be a base threat anymore with Chris Taylor, falling off a cliff the last 3 years. So you get Tommy Edman to replace him in that role at ninth. Not only that, I like it because I'm not a fan of big top heavy lineups. I don't like the idea of, I know this is crazy, but 1 through 6 is really difficult for any pitcher against the Dodgers, of course. But then you kind of get a reprieve 7, 8, and 9. That's a whole inning. You just kind of give an inning at that point with the 7, 8, 9 hitters hitting the way they are. If you flip that a little bit and 1 through 5 are really difficult, but then, the 9 hitter is not an easy out either.
Yeah.
Then you break that up. It makes it a little bit more difficult. And to Jeff's point about it only giving 40 less at bats to Tommy Edman, the batting order really only matters the first time through the lineup anyway.
Yeah.
Once you get through it, like it's you just care more about handedness really, and that's where on base percentage matters a hell of a lot more. Getting in front of Shohei matters a lot more to get those RBI opportunities. So and a lot of players will say that it only matters the first time through. Some have come out and said that it really, really matters where they're hitting, but I am a fan of having somebody in front of Shohei get on base, and also just breaking up this lineup a little bit where really feels like you have like the same batter for like 4 dudes in a row.
Yeah, there's a lot of things where it does make a lot of sense. I do want to talk more Andy Pages in a second, but Pages has kind of mentioned, batting ninth. This is something the kid has never really done in his life. So putting him in that 9 hole, and he's mentioned, I think it was in the LA Times today, there was an article or something like that. Maybe it came out yesterday, but he mentioned being a different role for him, kind of being the dude who's trying to take some more pitches as opposed to going up there and just trying to let the bat, do the work, let it thump a little bit. I think it plays better for him. And if you have Tommy all of a sudden in that 9 hole, suddenly in the 8 hole is Pages. Maybe he feels a little bit better there, or you can move him up higher or something like that. If you want to keep Conforto and the way I lined up the lineup here a little bit, but going Teoscar to like Conforto to Will Smith, and then you have Muncy, Pages, Tommy Edman. I think it just feels right. That feels pretty dang right to me. Will the Dodgers be smart? Will my friend Dave Roberts be listening to this edition of the show? Probably not, but I think we did some good work here, boys.
For the record, I just want to say I like this idea. I'm not so bold to say it's the smart idea. I like it.
It's the only way they're going to win is if they listen to you.
That's true. It's a must-win game too. Absolutely.
Oh, he's killing me here. He's killing me.
The only must-win win of the year is Saturday. All right.
Yeah, that's fair. By the way, if you guys are at Dodger Stadium and you see that guy getting drunk somewhere, make sure you buy him a beer so you can get him more drunk. That is, of course.
I think everybody might be able to see me because we're in right field pavilion. We're like seats just above the home run deck.
Make sure
if somebody launches,
you got to walk in.
Somebody launches one out there.
Palming a blade. It is right field.
Are you going to wear like a poster of your kitchen behind you so people will recognize you?
That'd be pretty sweet. I should just put a kitchen on a shirt or something like that.
That's what I'm going to do for Halloween this year. I'm just going to put on my hat forward and put Kevin's Kitchen behind me and say, I'm Kevin Skinner.
I think it works. I think it's a good look right there.
And you'd be the first person ever to do that.
And the all Dodgers shirt. That way everybody just knows you're fully branded this way. So I mentioned I wanted to talk about Andy Pages a little bit, and like I said, there was an article that came out in the LA Times. Dodgers players, they're defending him. They're on his side. The article did mention that Teoscar Hernandez is doing his best to kind of be a mentor for Pages as he's struggling here. We're calling it maybe either a sophomore slump or maybe just, I don't know, the league catching up to him, maybe just bad habits to open the season right now. But Pages, he's seeing, it sounds like he's seeing the chatter online about his play. You know, we know the base running isn't the greatest. The routes, the first step in center field. He's not a center fielder. Jeff, this is something you and I have talked about a bunch, either here or on Locked On in the past. And of course, you've talked about it without me a whole bunch. He's a right fielder, and that's where he should be playing. That's just not how this team, how this roster was assembled to have him playing in his best position, which is right field. But just it's not a clean start to the season for him, but he has a lot of people in his corner. I ask this: is it a situation where we give it time right now, or maybe AAA could be the better play for him for the longevity of his career? You know, give him a month or two, maybe even a couple of weeks down at OKC, kind of get the confidence going again, playing center field every single day. Not to say he's not doing that at the big league level, but maybe he comes back up and is able to kind of just start ripping the cover off the ball. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. I think this is one of the hardest questions to answer because Andy Pages has already proven he can tear the cover off the ball at AAA. Yeah, and so maybe it's a confidence thing, and so maybe he would come back after doing. I think of Alex Vesia a couple of years ago when he got sent down to the minors and struck out like 15 out of 18 batters or something, and came back and was great, and he's been mostly great ever since. And so sometimes it is that switch that you can flip just by being sent down. I don't know that there is anything that's going to make him even a good center fielder. Like, I don't know if he can even hope for average at this point. Like, I think that Andy Pages is at best a below average defensive center fielder. And so the question is, can he hit well enough to make up for that and to still earn a spot on the roster? And, maybe I think they got to give him a little bit more time right now, if for no other reason that there's nobody really beating down the door to replace him.
That's a great point.
Because, I know Tommy Edman can play center. And so, if you wanted to go with Alex Freeland, who's hitting well in AAA, or Hae-Sung Kim, who I think if they're ready to pull the trigger on calling Kim up, it would have already happened. So I think they're not quite ready to do that. But James Outman is striking out half the time in AAA still. There's nobody just beating down the door. Pages probably, I think Pages has a brighter future than Outman. When you look at age, you look at prospect pedigree, all those things, just pure talent. Yeah, Outman is a better defensive center fielder, and I've probably made the opposite argument of this in the last week that, if you're going to have somebody not hitting, at least get somebody who can catch the ball.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm buying into the 2 home runs by Pages. I don't know, but Pages at least has that potential to get you some hits, get you some home runs. I think he's going to hit better than he has so far, but I don't know if that's going to be this week or if it's going to be a month from now. And I'm not. If I was 100% sure of it, that would be one thing. I'm 64% sure that Pages sometime in the next month or two is going to hit better than he's hitting right now. And I don't know what that means.
I'm sure the homers help him out. It looks and it sounds like it definitely helped the psyche. Some of the players interviewed in that Jack Harris article had mentioned that overall they saw like kind of a weight lifted off his shoulders. The kid's been pressing. He understood in spring training he was playing for a job. Wasn't going to be handed a job despite being, a pretty integral part of that World Series run a year ago. Kevin, I would say, as much as it's been kind of, I don't want to say a pain to watch him, but it's been a challenge, I guess, to watch Pages play at times to open the season, but it feels like they have time. The Dodgers have a little bit of time to let him figure it out for a little while. What do you think about all this? And also going into what Jeff had mentioned, which was part of the video that you dropped on the channel today about, hey, Alex Friedman is somebody who's kind of tearing the cover off the ball. If they do pivot to that Tommy Edman center field angle, they have better second base options than they do center field options. But anyways, Kevin, Cook.
Yeah, the Dodgers technically have roughly 6 months to figure out Andy Pages in center field if they want it. We know this team doesn't really care much about the early months. They're only playing for October, so if they really wanted to give him the whole season, they could. He's on a mini hitting streak. He's got 3 games or a 3-game hitting streak going on. Kudos to him. There are options. They're not beating down the door necessarily for center field, but you have a couple of infielders in Hae-Sung Kim and Alex Freeland actually doing quite well. The issue is they bat left-handed, so there's like a handedness issue that comes into play there if they wanted to like purely platoon. I think it comes down to needing to put him in good positions, which they've faced a lot of lefties. Granted, they're also like the best lefties in baseball at this point. They get another really, really good lefty on Friday in Matthew Boyd from the Cubs. His first outing, he had like 10 strikeouts and didn't give up an earned run. So like, hooray. But I think that's where Pages really needs to kind of make his money. He needs to be good against left-handed pitching. We saw that because that's the one thing he was really good at last year. He could hang his head on it. He was one of the best hitters in baseball against left-handed pitching. He needs to, at the bare minimum, do that. If he can do that, we can start stomaching a lot more of his shortcomings, particularly in the field. I don't know if I'll ever forgive him his shortcomings on the base paths because my dad taught me the worst thing you can do in sports is getting thrown out at third base, and he does that a lot.
He enjoys that.
So he really does.
He really loves not picking up Dino.
He's made a very bad habit of it, or like nearly getting thrown out, which he should have been. Anyway, I digress. So he needs to be good against left-handed pitching at the bare minimum. I do think he's not this bad. Right now he's at a 171 batting average. His OPS is actually hilariously 648 because he hit 2 home runs. But he's not this bad. He just needs to be a little better. And then, maybe he'll play. Maybe he's kind of the opposite. His issues at the plate are like giving him issues in the field when normally it's kind of the other way around, like especially with like Max Muncy. Maybe that's something where he starts figuring it out at the plate. He plays a little bit better in center field, but I'm in agreement with you both. He's a right fielder, not a center fielder. So,
I mean, that's one of the things that we've talked about too, a good amount on the channel in the off season, and in through spring training, up through spring training. That with Pages, he is one of those dudes that, if he's not 100% mentally there, the game starts to erode. So he needs to be fully engaged when he's playing in center field. He needs to be feeling good in center field to bat well. He needs to bat well so he can feel good in center field. And that's where like we had that just absolutely egregious route, if we want to call it that attempt in center field in Philadelphia. And if you guys recall, our pets' heads were falling off leading up to that. We had a Mookie error. I think there was a Miguel Rojas error at second base leading up to that. And now all of a sudden he's like, oh, I need to be extra cautious and try not to make things worse. And then all of a sudden he's in his own head or whatever. He is somebody that things need to be kind of swimming perfectly for him to be a good ball player. We've seen him be a good ball player. We've seen Pages be a good ball player. I think the narrative we're getting out of this is that he can still definitely be an important part for this team. I don't think he's going to gain much, honestly, out of going to AAA. And despite Jeff pointing out like how much that helped Alex Vesia a couple years ago. I think keeping him around the guys he knows best, keep him, tight with Teoscar Hernandez, keep him tight with some of the other Latin players on the team, just hanging with the boys, keep getting better. Few knocks each series are going to help that batting average, and everything kind of comes together from there. So I guess that's sort of where I'm at. Yeah, keep him on the roster.
Yeah. I also think that pitchers and hitters are different. And so for a pitcher like Vesia, it's easy to go down and say, and just remember, oh yeah, I have really good stuff. I should trust my stuff. With Pages, it's not as simple as trust your stuff. And so, they're to figure out how to hit major league pitching, he probably has to keep facing major league pitching. I do want to, several minutes ago, there was a note in the chat from Dan who threw out another idea, which was Muncy batting ninth instead of Edman, because Muncy, he's going to get some walks.
Yeah.
Getting on base in front of Shohei. And
at his best, he is a guy who takes
the other
walks,
side of it is he's going to get more pitches to hit too. And so I think Muncy maybe is a little too in his head about strike zone stuff right now. So maybe him being in a spot where he is more likely to get pitches in the strike zone because Shohei Ohtani's on deck, then maybe that helps him jump out. And then that, with Pages, you were mentioning that maybe batting ninth isn't right for him. You put Pages eighth and Muncy ninth. Maybe that helps both of them, keeps Edman a little bit higher in the lineup, so you're losing fewer of his plate appearances. At that point, you could put him kind of wherever. Muncy doesn't have the speed advantage like Edman does, so less likely to score from first on a Ohtani double, but he can still score from first on an Ohtani homer.
You know what's
Yeah.
funny is I don't know if you guys recall, because I don't even remember how it came back into my ethos very recently, or I just popped in front of my eyes. But anyways, you remember the Dodgers going out and trading for this dude named Mookie Betts, and for the first couple months of that 2020 season, not months, weeks, Dave had Max batting leadoff.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
just that's funny, but I like, you know what, another not terrible idea there, because Muncy right now kind of feels like he doesn't have a spot in the lineup. He's getting dropped down a little bit more, and I think having that Shohei protection, I agree with that a lot. Having him bat ninth, he's back to being that second leadoff hitter in a way, and
yeah, and
that does go a long
tell him, look, we don't need you hitting home runs right now. Your job is to be on first base when Shohei Ohtani bats.
Yeah.
And so, which is maybe the scariest place in the world to be.
Weight off his shoulders.
But just let him just be there and say, okay, if they're giving you pitches a hit me some line drives. Don't worry about home runs, because we got Shohei and Mookie and Freddie coming up. Hit me some line drives and take your walks if they're not giving you pitches to hit. I think that might be the thing that gets Muncy back into Muncy mode.
Kevin,
I think it'd have to be eighth. I mean, I kind of ascribe to this as well, but I know for a fact the Dodgers do. Is you have two left-handers going 9-1, and that just gives opposing teams a lane with relief pitching, or just their starters in general. You kind of line them up, for some tough facing some tough pitchers.
But if one of those lefties is a guy who you can pinch hit for with Kike Hernandez, and the other one's Shohei Ohtani, maybe that's not the end of the world.
I get it, but I would hate taking. I don't know if Max would love being pinch hit for either. That might not go over very well in that clubhouse.
But maybe we're at that point in his career.
Maybe I would say having him hit eighth would be just as possible. The reason Edman works great ninth is he's a switch hitter, so there is no lane. You're you get a good matchup regardless of how you line it up. So if you go Muncy, Edman, Shohei, something like that, then maybe we're talking lefty still kind of gets an easy lane there, but you're breaking it up with Tommy Edman, who's better from the right hand side anyway. So that's just I have no issue. Whatever fixes Max. I don't care where he hits necessarily, but that is the one, I don't know, wrench that I could see thrown into that plan.
Yeah, and I would say we're still a couple of weeks away. A couple of weeks of the bottom of the lineup doing next to nothing before we see Dave decide to make a little bit of that change. We know this team is kind of slow to pull the trigger on what I'm going to call Jeff's brilliant idea of somebody like Tommy Edman batting ninth, the World Series winning idea, or even Muncy batting ninth. I like both those ideas because I think it gives both of those guys a different look, and I think it gives the top of the order something to work with as well, because I think on the broadcast in Washington, Joe Davis had noted, or maybe it was Carroll that had noted that it was 4 or 5 homers for Shohei Ohtani and 6 or 7 RBI. There's nobody on base, so he needs more ducks on the pond to do more damage. Just as a guy who drove in 130 runs last year, and you need some runners on in front of him to be able to drive in, knock a few more points in. So
the funny thing is, the only time Chris Taylor has been on base this year, he became the only non-Shohei Ohtani person to score on a Shohei Ohtani home run this year. Chris Taylor is 1 for 1 in scoring on Shohei Ohtani home runs when he gets on base. Hashtag math, baby.
He's never done anything wrong.
I asked him that, and he said he's done a few things wrong in his life. But regardless of that, people in the chat, I like George here saying Muncy should hit 10th. I don't think it works that way, but I like it. Craig Osterberg says Max will sink or swim. Our buddy Matt Goat Yachty saying Max's approach has looked really different this year, but it's still so early. And I think that the approach looking different is pressing. It's definitely pressing, and that's what you had alluded to as well, or outright said, Jeff. Another comment I wanted to point out, Matty Man 5 Dodge a while ago signed up to be a friend of the show here, signed up for YouTube members. Appreciate Maddie Man for joining the party. He also gets access to our Discord server, so I will get you the links after the show so you can join us and yell about the Dodgers all the time on the internet with friends. And I'll tell everybody while we're here, give it a little pause for a second. If you guys are looking to join the conversation beyond when we're all live, either myself or Jeff or whoever, you can become a Patreon supporter here on All Dodgers, or click the join button here on the YouTube channel. It's $5 a month to support independent Dodgers coverage, and at the same time you get access to our Discord server. It's a whole thing. It's fun, really fun watching the Dodgers win together. Sometimes it could be a bit of a chore when the Dodgers are losing, watching it together, but check that out. Otherwise, the best way to support the channel is by hitting that subscribe button, hitting the like button, sharing with your friends, sharing with your grandma, sharing with the mailman, share with your mailman's dog. Whoever's a Dodger fan, we would appreciate it. I think we've exhausted lineup talk a little bit. One of the big reasons the Dodgers lost a few of those games was the pitching, the vaunted pitching depth. Dodgers depth tested early. So we're gonna talk about the state of the starting rotation right now, mainly the starting rotation, because bullpen, I think it's doing the job. Bullpen is absolutely doing the job, but you lose Blake Snell. Tyler Glasnow throws a stinker out there because he's crying about the mound. Yamamoto, Sasaki, they're once a week dudes, and that's feeling like a little bit of an impedance for the Dodgers here. The reinforcements didn't do very much with Wroblewski and Knack, giving up 13
12.
runs? 13, is that what it was? No, it was 13. Whatever it was. No, it was 13 because 8 and 5, right? Wasn't it 5?
That was 7 and 5. Did Wroblewski really give up another home run?
Wroblewski definitely gave up 8, and I think Knack was 5.
So, again, state of the rotation.
He did give us one of the best stills we'll get all year. Pointing.
Oh, the pointing. The point. And so, entering the season, I think that was one of those things where everybody was like, oh, my God, the Dodgers, they have all of this starting rotation where they have – where's everybody going to fit when everybody's healthy? And now we're 10, 15 games into the season, and – we're hoping Tony Gonsolin comes back early. Maybe they have to pull a Nick Frasso lever. Bobby Miller, some of us, I think. I forgot that he still exists until I had to go and look at the 40-man roster earlier this afternoon. State of the rotation, man. Jeff, how are you feeling about this? And this is just another one of those things where I'm overreacting in this case, and things are going to get better.
We looking for voice of reason again? Because that's what I've got here.
I guess
the Dodgers do have depth. The problem is we knew all along some of that depth is a little later in the season because Shohei Ohtani, Clayton Kershaw, Tony Gonsolin, Emmett Sheehan, to name 4, those guys aren't ready yet. And so we knew if there's an injury in April, it's guys like Justin Wroblewski and Landon Knack, both of whom showed signs of being good last year, but also showed signs of being clunkers sometimes. And I do believe both of those guys will eventually be solid big league pitchers, or maybe even better than solid. Last night on Locked On Dodgers, I was comparing it to the 1988 Braves when you had Tom Glavine, who went, I wonder if I still have that. Oh, I don't still have that tab open on my browser. Tom Glavine had like 17 losses for the 88 Braves, and John Smoltz had like a 5.5 ERA for that team. And both of them, I don't know if you know this, they end up in the Hall of Fame without cheating like the 2017 Astros did. But, the 1988 Braves had no expectations of winning. And so they could just let Tom Glavine go out there and lose 17 games. The Dodgers aren't in a position to let Justin Wroblewski go lose 17 games. They're not in a position to let Landon Knack start 30 games and have a 5.5 ERA. Because the Dodgers plan on winning the World Series. So it's a different situation, but it's also the same situation. And the good news is, unlike the 1988 Braves, the Dodgers have other options. They have Blake Snell coming back. They have Shohei Ohtani eventually come back. They have other options in the minors, like you said, Bobby Miller and Nick Frasso. And you have the fact that both Wroblewski and Knack were worse this week than they were last year. And so chances are they're going to be better. Landon Knack, we know he's getting another start next time through the rotation. It's almost a sure thing he's going to pitch at least a little bit better than he did the other day, and that's good. But this team, this doesn't change any of my feelings about the depth the Dodgers have. It's just that the timing of the depth. The Dodgers' goal with this depth is to have 4 really good, healthy starters in October.
Whatever that looks like, yeah.
And ideally 7, and they have to make some hard decisions, but at least 4, because last year they did it with 2, and they won, but it wasn't fun. Winning was fun. Getting there was, caused some heartfelt
nails on a chalkboard at times.
And so that's the Dodgers' goal with this depth is health in October. And so that's why they hairpin trigger on Blake Snell. Oh, your shoulder feels a little bit sore. Boom. Take 2 weeks off. They're going to do the same thing with Tyler Glasnow at some point. They're going to do the same thing with Yamamoto at some point. Roki Sasaki probably. All these guys, they're going to do that. And later in the year, they will have plenty of options to fill in. Right now, it's Knack and Robleski for the most part, and that's going to be a mixed bag of results. But yes, this is the depth. The depth was never about the depth is going to carry us to 162-0. The depth was we're going to win our division probably pretty easily, and then we're going to have at least 4 really good, healthy starters in October.
Kevin, I'm sure you've seen online people, especially after today, Walker Buehler putting up a gem for the Red Sox. People being like, this is why they should have re-signed Walker, and this is why they should have re-signed Jack Flaherty, and all this kind of stuff. Look, like Jeff was saying, you need to have 4 dudes. You might have 7, but to have 9 like ace level starting pitchers, you can't make that. You can't sort that out. I don't think everybody's going to get hurt, or half of them are going to get hurt or whatever. But all of that said, Kev, what do you feel about this starting rotation situation? Is it something where like maybe the Blake Snell injury could have happened a month from now instead of when it happened?
I think they're just overly cautious. I'm not super worried about Blake Snell. From all accounts, Dr. Neil Elitrosh was just in the area and so they just had Snell see him. That was like my big concern is like, if you're sick, like, don't go see the boogeyman. Like, please, we don't need to hear any of that right now. The rotation will be fine. Everybody's screaming for Walker Buehler to come back. Everybody knows I love Walker Buehler. Guess what? Walker Buehler is going to have an outing this year where he's going to give up like 4 earned runs in 2 innings. He'll do that too. Every pitcher does it. Landon Knack just did not look very Landon Knack-like. Just could not throw strikes. Robleski, I'm a little less sold on. I think he's likely a swingman at best. Should probably just be in the bullpen. I'm not really all that worried about this rotation. It's just we're going to have this organization, is going to have starts. It's just going to be by TBD. And, get used to it now because it's going to happen over and over and over again. They're going to rotate guys in. I think part of it is on purpose. I think Blake Snell was feeling some discomfort for a few weeks. They saw that Tony Gonsolin was kind of getting ready. He ramped up. I think he threw 60-ish pitches. He got into the 4th inning in his last outing, and the Dodgers thought, you know what? Yeah, let's shelf Blake for a little bit. We'll get Tony back up here, and we'll give him some run, and then they're just going to kind of cycle through these guys. I'm sure if Glasnow doesn't have another great outing, guess what? His toe's hurting or something like that. Then we're going to get another pitcher. Yeah, we're going to get another pitcher, and it's going to be this cycle of it's a 6-man rotation, but it's a 7-man rotation if you consider the IL being the 7th man.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like that for the whole year, and I'm not worried about it. Especially when it comes to the playoffs, you just need one good start, and all of these guys we know are capable of giving you 6, 7, 8. In Blake Snell's case, 9 shutout innings. Everybody just needs to take a deep breath. It sucks. It's always against the Nationals. I think that's part of it, too, is the last 2 years, the Dodgers have gotten absolutely shellacked by the Nationals and are really bad at Citizens Bank Park. So it's like you had 2 really bad series back-to-back, 2 really bad starting pitching performances back-to-back, and people just kind of forgot, guys, we're going to be okay.
Yeah,
East Coast in April sucks.
Yeah. Tell me about
it's horrible. Like last year, I was telling the Discord this. It's like the Glasnow start reminded me of the start in Chicago when I was at this game where Miggy Rowe was saying, I was standing in a pool of water at third base. That was the game Yamamoto got shelled, or he loaded the bases twice and had to unload them, and everyone thought the sky was falling in that game too. It's like, guys, it was raining buckets out here. It was raining buckets in Philadelphia. The guy couldn't hold the baseball. He couldn't land, and they didn't fix it until after they pulled him. So you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think it's Jeff already kind of alluded to this as well. He's stealing all the good thunder here. But if you don't go back-to-back starts with kids coming up, Wrobleski and Knack both putting up duds in a road trip where the team is already struggling, we're not having any conversation remotely close to this. We're just like, oh yeah, like if Knack is able to hold a 4-run first inning lead, this would be fine. But now it's the guy, the flames, the house is on fire. Yes, it's fine, meme and all this. It's still not going to be. I'm not worried. I guess ultimately where I'm going to here is I'm not worried about the starting rotation. There's enough depth. There's enough season left. Blake Snell will be back. Tyler Glasnow will have a dry mound on his start on Sunday at Dodger Stadium. Tony Gonsolin will probably come back and take Wrobleski's spot in the rotation next week. And I'm looking forward to seeing my 2022 All-Star, NL All-Star Catman back in the bump. Bald Catman now. Tony Gonsolin.
I just hope it's not the version that pitched in the 2022 All-Star game, because
yeah, that was a little rough. That was a little rough.
Hey, he's not going to have to face Giancarlo Stanton, all right? It's fine.
I would say this. If we start to see like Bobby Miller return, even though he's had a couple of good outings at AAA so far, if Bobby Miller returns, then I'm going to start to get a little worried because
I'm actually 6 batters.
Yeah, we'll see what Bobby Miller does, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it figured out at some point.
Some point,
different
uniform.
At some
maybe.
point, sure, not right now. Like walking 6 batters at AAA, don't come anywhere near the major leagues, please.
It's that darn ABS system.
Oh God,
pat my weave for that one. I want to move on, guys. I want to do something a little bit different. I don't know if it'll be a little bit fun, but we do have some voicemails. People calling into the show today, and I think people wanted to yell at Jeff or maybe just have a conversation with Jeff. I don't know. I didn't listen to the voicemails yet, but we got a few lined up, including our buddy Richie, who I'm sure is going to have a few F-bombs that he really wants Jeff to hear. So I apologize ahead of time for our friend Richie, but we're going to go ahead and fire off the rando meter here. This is our buddy Philbert. Blue the Dodger Dog has some thoughts.
Hello, Clinton Nation. Hey, I'm calling in for Blue, that lovable old Dodger dog now. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we can compete with the master of the voicemail, Mr. Richie Flores. Although our shared psychotic hatred of the Dodger Stadium parking lot is a topic that kind of bonds us, still, I come to you seeking validation for my takes. I'm coming to you, Mr. Pasillas. And here it is. Here's my take. I believe the return of Freddie Freeman, the mayor of Chavez Ravine, will solve our Andy Pages problem in center field. Correct me if I'm wrong, or explain why I'm right. Thanks, and keep up the good work. The viewing party was a gas, but then again, I was drinking. Honestly, I still am. Sorry. Bye.
Appreciate our buddy Phil Fountain. Of course, you guys have seen him online doing some great caricature work on Instagram and all the other social media platforms, and also, most importantly, supporting us here on the Internet Machine. And yeah, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the show, just how much Freddie Freeman expands this lineup, helps this lineup out. Kike Hernandez moving back to the bench goes a long way. Not having 2 dead roster spots with Hunter Fiducia and Chris Taylor, taking up 26 and 25 or 13 and 12 on the position player side of the roster. Freddie
and a half-dead one in Austin Barnes.
And a half-dead one. I apologize for forgetting that Austin Barnes is alive, but he helps. Freddie helps so much, and in that conversation we had earlier, all of a sudden, you don't have to have Tommy Edman batting third. You could move him around and have him be sort of a weapon anywhere in the lineup. That's going to make us all feel infinitely better starting tomorrow night at Dodger Stadium, so looking forward to that. Let's see. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's fire off another voicemail from our friend Noah. As you know, here's what Noah has to say.
Oh, what up, guys? It's Noah, as you know, and I got to say, guys, this team and this weekend in general has been a big-time roller coaster. And a Six Flags one, not a Disneyland one. Up, down, but when we were successful, we were going really, really, really high. That's what this season has been. But don't worry, though, guys.
Voice of reason.
We will succeed. We will go to the postseason. And don't worry, guys. Andy Pages didn't even get used in the postseason. And, of course, when he did actually, contribute, it was when we didn't need him, just like in that Nationals game. So don't worry. Don't panic. We are going to survive this regular season. The postseason, we will not use whoever the front office does not trust. And let's give some runway to some players like the office gave Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux came through at the end. So hopefully that's the case with Andy Pages. Let's all forgive Andy Pages. And let's all just stay patient. Anyways, guys, I'm in public, so blank the Dodger Stadium parking lot, blank Fernando Tatis, blank Man Machado, blank Juan Soto, and for the love of God, blank the Ghost Runner. See you guys.
Hey, listen, you got to throw Jerkson Profar in there these days. That's an important one to put in there. Somebody calling for a little bit of, I guess, grace for Andy Pages, which is also a narrative we had on the show today. Anybody?
Yeah.
Thoughts?
No, it's a good point to, give him some runway. Gavin Lux did actually turn things around in the second half. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, we know there's something more in Andy Pages' bat, literally because he doesn't actually swing with a hole in his bat, although it looks like it at times, allegedly. So there's something there. It's so difficult because even when Gavin was not performing at the plate, he was, serviceable at second base. When he got on base, he wasn't getting thrown out. It's a lot of things that are hard to stomach all at once. And it's also a lot harder when it's pretty much contributing directly to the Dodgers losing. So he'll get time. He'll have runway. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon, but it's a lot all at once, especially on this caliber of a team.
Also, Grace for Andy Pages sounds like the name of a 90s ska band.
Yeah. They had a one-hit wonder,
Sublime
but
with Andy Pages.
like a local one-hit wonder. Nando 390 saying Pages is DJ Peters 2.0, and I don't know
that means
about
he's gonna become a pitcher.
Pages is I think he's already done more than DJ Peters did with the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's fair.
Pages has actually had stretches of being a good hitter in the big leagues, and that's why I'm not giving up on him yet, because DJ Peters, Zach Rex, what's
Sheldon Noisy?
The big oaf, the 13-foot tall guy, who looks like he's on roller skates in the outfield. Now he's on the Mariners. What's his name?
Luke Raley. Yeah.
These guys never did anything for the Dodgers. Luke Raley has since he left the Dodgers, but Andy Pages has actually been a solid hitter for weeks at a time in the big leagues, and so if he could get back to that and batting at the bottom of the order, I'll take that.
Agreed. By the way, Diane Schroeder in the chat saying Lux is doing nothing in Cincy. Yeah, because
they have him playing left field.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna like that role. Which is being an everything dude. He's not going to like that role at all. We said we're going to hear from Richie, and Richie's going to have some things to say. So everybody buckle up. Here's Richie.
Oh, hey, Clint. I'm going to stick my neck out, way out, and say happy Thursday to you. Well, let's talk about this concluded road trip, shall we? First, Andy Pages hits 2 home runs. Great news. We're all happy and relieved that he finally put the ball in play, once in garbage time, and once that turned out to be a significant turnaround in the game yesterday. But at the end of the day, those 2 knocks still don't change my mind. Still doesn't change the fact that he's got an IQ of a handball and a personality of a parky meter when it comes to common sense skills out in the baseball field. So I'm going to need to see more. Secondly, Landon Knack and Robleski. What the hell was that yesterday? You have a golden opportunity to come up, help the big club, earn yourself some more playing time, earn yourself some credibility in the moral bank account. And what do? You crap all over yourself. P. Diddy and R. Kelly can't believe how bad of a day you both had. Ouch. Walking half the world. That doesn't get it done. You walk too many people, and then that you got to throw one down the middle because you're not getting those outside calls because you've already shown the entire world that you couldn't throw a strike to save your life. And then here comes the fastball. They drive it off the wall. And all those people that you so handedly wearing your white gloves and say, hey, first base, take it. They all score, and then all of a sudden you have an ERA of over 2,000. So good luck. trying to figure that out down in OKC. Guts it up, shake yourself. That was embarrassing. And finally, Max Muncy. Okay, I'm the biggest Max Muncy apologist. Why? Because he's my kind of guy. And some of you have probably picked up, I'm an old school baseball guy with old school values. And even though he's struggling right now, newsflash, everybody struggles. But the difference between him and Padres is that we know what he can do when he's right. And we also know that he's off to a slow start. But eventually, even though he doesn't have a gold glove at third base and never will get one, but he's a mentally tough dude, and he does come up in big moments. And just as long as we get him right for October, I'm okay with that. He's earned the right to have the runway because he loves being a Dodger, and he's a force in the clubhouse. Well, anyway, fuck the Dodger Stadium parking lot. Fuck Manny Machado. Fuck the Padres. Fuck Tatis. And for the love of God, fuck the Ghost Runner. See ya.
Jeff, you can come back now. All of the foul words have passed us by.
Is that why Richie wants me to watch Goodfellas?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few foul words on there. Listen, Jeff he's a good man. He's an honest man. I didn't listen to Richie's voicemail until just now. Apparently, he could have written my rundown for today's show because we talked about Pages, talked about Muncy. I would disagree a little bit on Muncy in some parts because it feels like it's been a while. Like, he didn't have himself a great postseason for the team last year. Yeah, he found his way on base. He played some solid defense, but I would still take Kike Hernandez at third base if I'm going gun to my head between the two of them. We need to see something closer to, well, maybe not 2021. Max Muncy's a different character. He was insane then. But we need to see 2018 Muncy. We need to see 2019 Muncy. A little bit more consistency, a little bit more slug. Last year, the numbers, very good. He was missing the availability part of his ability with the rib back, whatever issue happened with him. But right now, like, one of the things Kevin talked about on the channel today, we're at a point where we start to move into a platoon and we start to move into a timeshare if Muncy doesn't figure something out. And maybe, if Kike can get in the lineup and hit, maybe Kike is somebody who's getting the lion's share of time at third base by season's end. That's what I got.
Yeah.
I didn't really set anybody up there. That's my bad.
Yeah, I think Muncy does need to step up because I think at this stage in his career, he's 35 years old, almost 35.
You're young.
For a person, yeah, but for a baseball player, not so much. He's only 13 years younger than me, so it's pretty old. But yeah, I mean, so where he's at this stage in his career, this stage in his contract. Like, there's a lot going on with Muncy that, yeah, I wish I was as confident as Richie is that Muncy will become the Muncy he's been in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's impossible, but you look at it. Last year he was pretty good, but he was hurt for half the year, and so tough to say. I mean, like you mentioned, 2021, Clint. That's the last time you can really say Max Muncy was a very, very good hitter. Was 2021. And that's 4 years ago now.
Last year again, he was an OPS merchant. He's phenomenal at the slug and the on base. Would like to see maybe hit 250 and have that a 380 on base clip, and we're going to be in a really, really good spot with him. Maybe batting ninth. One of the things I will agree with Richie about. His presence in that clubhouse, and this is something Kevin and I have talked about on the channel as well. In the post Justin Turner era, how important Max Muncy has been to this Dodgers clubhouse and to Dave Roberts as one of those generals. The guy who can do the hard work or have the tough conversations with some of the younger players or whatever. That's a very important role that Muncy has for this team, and I'm sure he'll feel a lot better executing that role if he's also performing. Otherwise, you just got to feel weird if you're hitting like a $170 and be like, hey, arm on somebody's shoulder. You got to do better. My thoughts.
And the thing is with with where the Dodgers are right now, we started this by saying they're on pace for 116 wins, despite the fact that the MV3 have only played 2 games together, that you have literally 6 guys hitting terribly this year. You've got, and you've got some guys who, Smith is probably not going to bat 353 with the OPS of 1,000 for the whole season. But
How dare you?
There's some regression coming up for some of these guys, but I mean, Shohei his overall numbers is right about what they were last year. Teoscar is pretty close to what he was last year. Mookie probably going to regress a little bit, but not a ton. Edman and Conforto probably a little bit. There's a lot more room for progress than there is for regression here. And that's like, you don't need Max Muncy to be 2021 version of Max Muncy. No. You need him to be decent. Get back to like last year's version, 2 years ago, where you're taking your walks and not striking out a lot, because then they can put you in the 9-hole or whatever, put you in a position to help the team to lengthen this lineup out. That's one of Muncy's, the home runs are awesome, but just lengthening the lineup is one of his big contributions. And so if he could do that part, even without the 35 homer power, hit us 20 home runs and get your walk rate back up and your strikeout rate down, that is absolutely a very important role to fill for this team when you've got all the big boppers too.
Kevin?
Yeah, that's really the one thing that's concerning me is his strikeout rate. Last year, he struck out 77 times in 73 games. He struck out 21 times, he struck out 21 times in only 13 games this year. If you extrapolated that out, I mean, that's striking out 120 times in the exact same number of games as last year, which is only 70. Like, that's really, really, really concerning to me. It's not even like the walks will come, I think, but it's he's just chasing so much more, and he's whiffing a lot more than he's used to as well. Man. Even I think his zone contact rate is down too. It's just he's swinging over things. He's chasing, especially to the outside. It's hard to watch when we know what he can do. Like Jeff said, you don't have to hit 35 bombs, but you can't be striking out at the rate he is. He's at 42% or something. Absolutely, which is unsustainable. We know that's unsustainable.
And that's what I was going to use. I was going to use that word too. And maybe it's the thing that makes me so annoyingly optimistic all the time is that unsustainable is usually a bad thing. But no, it is impossible for Max Muncy to stay this bad. Knowing what we know about Max Muncy, his career strikeout rate is about 24%.
Yeah.
This year it's 42.9. His career walk rate is about 15%. This year it's 6.1. Like, even if he gets, splits the difference on both of those the rest of the season, he is a perfectly valuable player at that point. He doesn't need to go back to walking 15% of the time, striking out 24% of the time. Just get down to 30% strikeout and 12% walks, and you are a very valuable part of this lineup.
Because he's not
better than Cody Bellinger.
There you go. Because he's not a guy who's hitting 3rd or 4th for this team anymore. He needs to be hitting either 5th or 6th or maybe 8th or 9th and keep the line, moving, and we'll be in a very good spot. He'll be in a very good spot. We do have one more voicemail, and then we'll get out of here. Longer show, longer than anticipated. Appreciate Jeff hanging out with us. Make sure you guys make Locked On Dodgers one of your listens.
We'll be on in 20 minutes. As soon as we're done here, Vince and I are hopping in, getting ready to go. We're going to be live at 7:30 Pacific.
There it is. All right. Well, here's the final voicemail, and then you can get out and put your hat forward. But here we go. Brendan.
Hey, what's up, Clint? Brendan Fellows here. I've been a long time listener of yours back in the DN days when it was the other guy, not Doug. Can't remember his name. But, yeah, man, just want to say first off that super proud of everything that you've done. It's been awesome to see you go out on your own and really pull something off, and been a big fan. Anyways, to get to my point, why I'm calling, I'm watching the Boston Red Sox game right now. Buehler's pitching. He's absolutely dealing. And just wanted to get your thoughts. Do you think we missed out on him? I think he's got a little gas left in the tank. I mean, he's going up and down, left and right, striking people out, great command. So definitely could have used him given what we saw with Robo and Landon Knack. So hopefully we get some more pitching back. Hopefully Snell doesn't get hurt, and he's on that IL too long. Hopefully he's back soon. But like I said, man, appreciate you. shout out to Noah, as you know, and Richie for your crazy takes. I've been listening forever, and you guys always make me laugh. So have a good one, y'all, and take care. Bye-bye.
Appreciate the call and the kind words from Brendan, being a long-time, first-time caller here on the show. Much appreciated there. And it's funny, again, apparently everybody had the same thoughts that I had for this rundown. Seeing Walker Buehler go out there and shove, it's a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow, but it was probably time. I think it was probably time for Walker. Kevin, any final thoughts on Walker there?
It sucks to see him go. I was really enjoying him. I mean, he was strutting on the mound today. It was a ton of fun to watch him pitch. You know, I always tune in when he's pitching. It was definitely time. He didn't have, I think, the role he wanted on this roster, especially if he wanted to potentially make as much money as possible. Because even if he came back from the Dodgers and shoved, like he could do with Boston, it'll probably be at a lower innings count, and there'll still be questions. If he can do what he's doing right now in Boston, of all parks, man, he could get himself a sweet bag. And I think he has a really good opportunity. I know a lot of people are kind of annoyed that the Dodgers didn't extend him the qualifying offer, because that's effectively what he signed. I'm still firmly of the belief they did him a solid. They went to him and said, hey, we're not going to extend you to this because we don't want to suppress your market. Yeah, I at least believe they're, giving their, who we once thought of as like the future ace of this organization that courtesy. But I don't think we necessarily will miss him, but I don't think we missed out on him.
Jeff,
and I think it was his choice to go. I think the Dodgers would have paid him what the Red Sox paid him. They probably offered him the same thing, but I think for Buehler, he's working for a free agent contract and being the man, or the number 2 guy behind Crochet or whatever, one of the top guys in Boston, instead of being the 5th or 6th starter in LA, and knowing that the Dodgers are going to limit their starters' innings, all those things. Buehler's playing for a contract this year, and he knew that Boston was a better place to do that. And so, I just like with Corey Seager, I have to respect when a player chooses to leave, and Walker Buehler for free agency reasons. Corey Seager, I think it was personality reasons. I think Corey Seager just is more of a Texas guy than an LA guy. And I think that's just fine, I think it's fine for him to leave.
It's not.
Well, but I'm more reasonable than you. So
the voice of reason, again, come on, Kev.
It's right there in the title, bro. No, I think that's the whole point of free agency, is that players are free to use their agency to choose where they want to go play. And I think Buehler made a good choice for him because, the Red Sox are the best probably possibility for him to get a bag for next offseason.
Yeah, and hey, listen, this is 1 year, there's nothing saying that he couldn't come back at some point down the road. Maybe he's the next Buell dog, as I used to call him, but the next Bulldog. Well, don't forget, Jeff's favorite guy to dream about, Oral Hershiser, did eventually come back and become a Dodger again. It was not a very good year. Don't look at that 2000 stat line for Hershiser, but it's bye for now, we'll say, with Walker Buehler. And I'm happy he's excelling so far in Boston. I will always love that dude. But
yep.
Guys, that is about it. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for engaging in the chat. For the voicemails, shout out to Brendan being a first-time caller and being awesome with his voicemail as well. Jeff, appreciate you hanging out with us. You guys, if you want to watch more of Jeff, go tube in. Locked On Dodgers are going to be live in about 15 minutes. Him, Vince Samperio, probably talking about Andy Pajes, maybe. What do you got? What's on tonight's show?
I know we're going to be talking a lot about Freddie Freeman, his return, and kind of the same thing, the impact that he's going to have on the lineup. We're probably going to dig in a little bit more to what we talked about here about the pitching. I'll try not to repeat myself too much for all you who are going to be at both places, but maybe Vince will have better things to say in response than you two did. So
that's the spirit. I bet he won't, but that's the spirit, guys. Hit the like button here, hit the subscribe button here, hit the like button and subscribe button over on Locked On Dodgers. Always appreciate talking Dodger baseball with Jeff. Appreciate talking Dodger baseball with Mr. Skinner7 Kevin as well, guys. Give him a follow on the X at Skinner7 Kevin. Give Snydog a follow. Give me a follow at RealFRG on the social medias. Support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/RealFRG, or click the join button here on YouTube to join as a YouTube member. It's $5 a month to support the show and to join a growing Dodger community. And guess what? Jeff hangs out with us there in that chat as well. That's about it. We'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.